Welcome to Wisdom for Your Day. We're breaking down the actionable life lessons behind the legends. Before he was a global cultural icon, Bruce Lee appeared as the ultimate image of confidence and physical mastery. But that mastery began with a hot-tempered youth in Hong Kong who was routinely engaged in street fighting. He was a frustrated outsider who had to build his legendary discipline from a state of total emotional volatility. As a teenager in Hong Kong, Lee struggled with an explosive temper. He frequently sought out street brawls, eventually learning that an unregulated temper only made him more vulnerable to manipulation. When he arrived in Hollywood, he was met with systemic rejection. He faced intense racial prejudice and was repeatedly passed over for lead roles, forcing him to process disappointment without descending into bitterness. In 1970, a severe back injury left him bedridden. Doctors warned him he might never walk or practice martial arts again, forcing him to reconstruct his identity apart from physical dominance. He also fought against his own ego. Lee admitted he struggled with arrogance and the desire to show off his physical superiority, eventually shifting his energy toward authentic self-actualization instead of a performative self-image. Finally, he had to resist the need for external validation. Traditional martial arts circles criticized him for teaching non-Chinese students, leaving him to choose inner alignment over the approval of his community. These 5 battles taught Lee that internal regulation was a survival necessity. He realized relying on external validation or an unregulated temper clouded the judgment required to succeed. To survive these setbacks, Lee turned to intense self-analysis, becoming a meticulous student of his own mind. He carried a pocket notebook everywhere, documenting his raw emotions and behavioral patterns. This allowed him to observe his own reactions without judgment. This led to his be water model. Rather than forcefully braking against an obstacle, he trained himself to be formless and shapeless, allowing him to recalibrate during unexpected crises. By objectively observing his mind and adopting this total adaptability, he stopped fighting against reality and started moving with it. He moved away from blind rage toward emotional content, repurposing frustration into creative determination. He also practiced a strategic pause, using breath to create a psychological boundary before reacting, protecting his inner peace under intense pressure. Finally, he committed to radical authenticity. He refused to duplicate existing styles, choosing instead to celebrate his unique essence. This mental toolkit created an internal environment that was less susceptible to insults or loss. Now he was ready to apply these principles to his work as a teacher and leader. With his internal world mastered, Lee stepped away from the traditional, authoritarian grandmaster archetype to change how mentorship functioned in his industry. He demanded that his students discover their own strengths. His rule was to absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. By deconstructing dogmatic rigidity and using no way as way, he freed his students from fixed structures, allowing operation without fear of mistakes. Lee prioritized accessibility, frequently waiving payment for impoverished students, teaching that self-betterment is a human right, not a luxury commodity. By removing these rigid rules and financial barriers, he built a model based on individual empowerment rather than forced compliance. Lee used these skills to restore personal self-worth in others. He famously trained his friend Taki Kimura to help him overcome the psychological trauma of World War II internment camps. But he believed knowledge meant nothing without immediate execution. He demanded that his students move past concepts and implement their knowledge through decisive action. You can map out your own success by facing your internal struggles and building your own mental toolkit. As Lee said, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. True wisdom starts with action. Now, go take the first step towards shaping your own future. If you are ready to grow, subscribe, follow, and join our community. Find our full library of stories on YouTube under Wisdom for Your Day. Stay resilient and remember to be yourself. Everyone else is taken.